Fox 61, Connecticut's news station, starts with a weather impact alert.
Good evening and thank you for joining us on the Fox 61 News at 6. I'm Bridget Bjorlo. Glad you're here. A winter storm is on the way. Yes, another one. And this one will bury Connecticut in some snow tomorrow night. Crews have been working all day long to make sure the roads will be safe and prepared for it. So let's turn things over to Chief Meteorologist Rachel Frank to tell us more about the weather impact alert. Hey, Rachel.
Hi. Yeah, we have a moderate snowstorm on the way. We're looking at anywhere from 5 to 9 inches of accumulation starting tomorrow night around 9 o'clock and ending around 9 o'clock on Sunday morning. So it's only about a 12-hour duration, which is a very fast mover. We're looking at primarily snow. There might be a little bit of sleet towards the tail end. And in terms of impact, we're looking at slippery roads, reduced visibility when it's coming down the heaviest between 10 p.m. and about 3 o'clock in the morning. And of course, snow removal is going to be needed for this one. Radar not showing the storm yet. In fact, it hasn't even fully come together. It's in 2 different pieces. Those pieces will join forces into developing into our area of low pressure. Right now, we're looking at temperatures that are in the upper 20s to right around 30 degrees. No weather issues out there tonight, and even during the day tomorrow, and even in the early evening tomorrow, we are dry. Here's a look at current wind gusts up around 25-30 miles an hour for some towns, but the wind is in the process of diminishing. As we head through the overnight hours, temperatures will settle back into the upper teens to right around 20 degrees. And during the day tomorrow, I do think we see some morning sunshine, but we'll see increasing clouds through the afternoon. And then that snow will develop as we head into tomorrow night between 7 to 10. So Fairfield County around 7 o'clock, Hartford area 8 or 9 o'clock, and it may take until 9 or 10 for parts of eastern Connecticut to see the first flakes fly. Things are winding down quickly 8, 9 o'clock in the morning as we head into Sunday, and the rest of the day is dry. If you have any Super Bowl plans, we're looking beautiful heading through the afternoon with some clearing. We'll take a look ahead at the future radar, get you all set for this storm coming up in just a bit. Bridget.
Okay, sounds good, Rachel. Thank you. The Connecticut Department of Transportation is prepared to hit the ground running tomorrow for another round of winter weather. Fox 61's Kay Pattyfoot is live for us on the Fox 61 Sky Deck with more on the preparations. Kay.
Right now, it's not snowing, but like you mentioned, DOT, they are ready, and they tell me that they have about 200 contractors on standby for tomorrow. Josh Morgan, Connecticut's DOT spokesperson, said the department has 900 drivers and more than 600 plow equipment. Crews will be working Saturday night into Sunday as well to keep the highways clear of any snow and slick spots and ensure drivers are safe as possible if they have to be out on the roads during the snowstorm.
We usually get called in about 2 hours before the precipitation is expected to fall. We have 65 garages around the state, so depending on the track of the storm, when they're calling it, we'll stagger crews. We'll have them come in, depending on when that accumulation is going to start falling. They can go out there, they can start putting treatment on the roads, then start clearing snow as soon as it starts falling. But it's going to be a plowable event, it looks like, for all of Connecticut. So we're fully expecting 100% of our crews to be out there and supplemented with contractors as well.
The main message from officials: if you don't have to be out late Saturday or up early Sunday, stay home and avoid the snow altogether. Many towns already implementing parking bans. Many of them begin on Saturday evening. Morgan said crews will be out on the roads most of Sunday when that snow ends, and he also said that they'll be clearing the highway shoulders and the roads as well to make sure they're clear as possible. Now I'm going to take a step back. It's a good idea to invest in something like this, a shovel. So if you do need to shovel yourself out tomorrow, you can do so. In Hartford, Kay Pattyfoot, Fox 61.
All right, Kay, great advice there with that shovel. Thank you. And make sure you have the free Fox 61 app downloaded already and have your push notifications turned on. That's so you know what's going on in real time. We'll provide you real-time updates as soon as they come in, and it goes right to your mobile device. Nice and easy. New tonight, hundreds of people signed up to speak at a contentious public hearing, which is still going on right now. Fox 61's Emma Wolfhorst explains why so many people are fired up at the state capitol.
This hours-long debate all stems from a proposal to possibly amend the state constitution and change the way Connecticut protects against discrimination on the basis of sex.
Shortly after my gender expression changed at work, I was terminated. A packed house Friday afternoon as nearly 300 people signed up to speak at this public hearing.
Interview after interview, I left to the sounds of laughter and snickering behind me. Within months, I was destitute. Soon, I was homeless.
Many, like Brianna Skawera of Middletown, were there to testify about a proposed constitutional amendment to include abortion protections and gender-affirming care in the state's Equal Protection Act.
I didn't detransition because I stopped being a woman. I detransitioned because I'd faced such discrimination and hardship that I felt I had no hope of surviving.
Skawera says when she came out at work as a transgender woman, she was fired. She says discrimination protections in the city of Middletown saved her life.
Anti-discrimination protections in the city of Middletown who employed me made me feel the hope that I could be myself.
If passed, this bill would not immediately amend the state constitution. It would add a question to ballots for voters to decide in the November 2026 election. The amendment would also not expand state rights, but enshrine them in the Constitution. However, some state lawmakers on the committee felt the amendment might.
If this constitutional amendment was passed into law, it might, in effect, make certain laws that are on the books in Connecticut unconstitutional.
There was also concern raised about conflicts with federal action.
The federal executive order has essentially told hospitals you need to pause what you're doing and stop these interventions that are harming people, or else you will lose federal funding.
This proposed amendment would protect against any future attempts to limit access to gender-affirming or reproductive health care in Connecticut law, but a federal ban would override the state constitution. That's why many in support of this bill say it's needed.
Sometimes I worry for myself and other transgender and queer patients like me, knowing that in some parts of the country we could be denied critical care because of who we are. Healthcare is a right, not a privilege, no matter what our sexuality or gender may be.
And this is obviously still just the start of the legislative session. This bill would still need to be voted out of committee to move forward. For now, reporting at the Capitol Complex, Emma Wolforst, Fox 61.
Okay, Emma, thank you. Turning now to a Fox 61 follow-up, a parole board decided that a man in prison for his role in the death of a Connecticut state trooper will be finishing out his original sentence. Dwayne Johnson has been behind bars since the early 1990s. He pleaded for parole consideration in a virtual hearing this morning. Fox 61's Kaylee Collins has the update from the board and why they decided to deny his parole.
Johnson is one of two brothers who were convicted in the death of State Trooper Russell Bagshaw on June 5th of 1991. He was up for parole due to a state law that was enacted in 2023 that allows anyone who committed a serious crime when they were under the age of 21 and completes half of their sentence to be considered for parole. Ultimately, the board did deny his request, citing the nature of his crime. It's a unanimous decision from the Connecticut Parole Board. Dwayne Johnson will remain behind bars.
So we have numerous letters in opposition of your release to parole today. What do you say to individuals who are opposed to your release?
First, they have every right to oppose my release.
Dwayne and his brother Terry were convicted on federal murder charges in 1991 for what state police described as an execution-style killing of Bagshaw. The two were caught attempting to rob a gun store. Terry was sentenced to death for shooting Bagshaw. Dwayne was sentenced to life without parole for letting it happen. Both of those sentences were changed on appeal, Terry's to life without parole and Dwayne's to life with the possibility of parole. Johnson tried to convince the board that the last 33 years in prison have sufficed.
I'm 52 years old. I've lived almost 2/3 of my life in prison. I came in as employed, and I'm doing what I can to make sure that I leave as a man with better values, skills, and training.
While loved ones recalled memories of Trooper Bagshaw.
Russ was a kind, decent, smart, respectable person who wanted to help people.
And asked the panel to uphold Johnson's original sentence.
What's the point of having a sentence if it doesn't mean anything? He has an end of sentence of 2035. Let him complete that sentence. Russ's death sentence will never change. I don't get him back.
Johnson now has another decade of prison time ahead of him.
I am so sorry for taking State Trooper Russell Bagshaw from all of you.
Johnson is set to remain in prison until the year 2035. The board said it might consider discretionary parole again in 2032 at the minimum. Reporting in studio, Kaylee Collins, Fox 61.
All right, Kaylee, thank you. And new at 6, Orange police are investigating a nightclub shooting early this morning. Police say no one called 911 after the shooting happened. Police say a man was brought into Yale New Haven Hospital around 12:45 this morning after being shot multiple times. Officers went to the Top Quality Vibez nightclub on Boston Post Road, and that's where they found blood and shell casings. Investigators say they've reached out to the club owners several times. They have not heard back. Right now, the man is in the hospital, we're told, in critical condition. And today, U.S. Senator Richard Blumenthal, along with the refugee resettlement groups, joined forces to urge President Trump to protect our Afghan allies. This comes after the Trump administration canceled flights for nearly 1,600 Afghan allies. That's including family members of active duty U.S. military personnel. In a letter, Blumenthal asked about the President Trump administration's executive orders and also asked whether the U.S. will honor its commitment to support these partners and their families.
This nation made a promise to them that it would care for them when the Taliban took over, because they have targets on their backs. They will be killed. Their families are at risk as well.
Senator Blumenthal has long pushed for the Afghan Adjustment Act. That's a measure that would allow Afghans seeking refuge in the U.S. to apply for permanent legal residency.